This is not a scene from a post-apocalyptic film. It is not a forgotten corner of the world left behind by time. It is Centralia, Pennsylvania, a town consumed by fire, erased from maps and nearly vanished from memory. Beneath these crumbling roads and withering trees, a fire has been burning for over 60 years. Welcome to Mystery Shack, where the map is real, but what lies beneath it isn't supposed to be. Today, we're heading into a place that looks abandoned, smells like sulfur, and burns from below, and yet somehow it still breathes. Let's go beneath the surface of Centralia. It began in 1962 with a decision so routine no one gave it a second thought. A landfill outside town needed clearing, so the crew did what they always did. They set it on fire. But beneath the trash heap was a hidden breach into an old coal seam, dry, exposed, and waiting. The flames slipped through. No alarms, no explosions, just a slow descent into the earth where the fire caught hold of the fuel beneath the town. And coal fires don't die. They burn in silence, devouring oxygen, spreading through tunnels like veins under skin. Invisible, unstoppable. Centralia didn't notice at first. It was a proud mining town, built on coal and shaped by generations who made their lives atop it. But the very thing that built the town was now hollowing it out from below, turning its foundation into a death trap. At first, Centralia didn't panic. There was no smoke in the sky, no raging flames, just a faint smell of something wrong. People said the ground felt warmer than usual. Basements grew damp and hot, with air so stale it made you dizzy. Then came the gas. Carbon monoxide detectors started going off in homes, but by the time they rang, the damage was already done. Families began waking up with splitting headaches. Pets were found unconscious, or worse. And outside, winter didn't act like winter. Steam rose from cracks in the street. Snow melted in strange lines that matched the old mining tunnels no one had touched in decades. The roads began to buckle, asphalt split, yards turned to soft, sinking mush, and through it all, officials insisted there was no real danger, just isolated issues. But the locals knew better. Something was alive under the town. Neighbors turned against each other. Some demanded evacuations, others clung to their homes, calling it a government overreaction. But the signs were everywhere. It wasn't just a fire. It was a slow, creeping rot, turning Centralia into a place where even the ground couldn't be trusted. February 14th, 1981. It was cold outside, but steam was rising from the ground. 12-year-old Todd Domboski was walking through his grandmother's backyard when the earth quite literally opened beneath his feet. One moment he was on solid ground, the next he was plunging into a narrow pit that had no bottom in sight. The hole was 4 feet wide and over 150 feet deep. Inside, the air was choking thick with carbon monoxide and hot enough to blister skin. The walls of the sinkhole were loose ash and crumbling rock, impossible to climb. Todd screamed, clawing at the edge, and just before he vanished into the smoke, his cousin grabbed him by the arms and yanked him out. It was that close. 1 second later, and Centralia would have claimed its first child. That hole was more than a freak accident. It was a warning, a sudden brutal announcement that the fire wasn't just beneath the town. It was inside it, and now it wanted out. News crews flooded in. Helicopters hovered overhead. What had once been whispered about in local bars was now headline material. Scientists took soil readings, mapped underground temperatures, tested air quality, and what they found was terrifying. Deadly carbon monoxide seeped into homes. Ground temperatures reached over 900 degrees Fahrenheit in some areas. Entire sections of the town were sitting on unstable voids, hollow, superheated chambers with nothing but burning coal beneath them. But instead of fighting the fire, the government chose containment, not of the flames, but of the people. They issued buyouts, declared homes unsafe. Eminent domain laws were triggered, leave now, or be forced out later. Some families resisted, most accepted. Street by street, the lights went out. Schools shut down. Churches closed their doors. Centralia didn't die in flames, it died in silence. And that sinkhole was the moment the countdown began. By the late 1980s, Centralia was a memory. Most homes had been bulldozed. Utilities shut off. Mail routes canceled. Entire streets disappeared under overgrowth and cracked pavement. But not everyone left. A handful of residents stayed behind, refusing the buyouts, ignoring the danger, and watching their town rot around them. They lived without streetlights, without neighbors, without emergency services, and yet they endured. Some said they didn't trust the government. Others just couldn't leave the land their parents and grandparents had built with bare hands. One man refused to leave his home because he'd buried his wife in the backyard. To him, leaving meant abandoning her. Legal battles followed. Centralia's remaining residents sued to keep their properties, and won. In 2013, the last few were granted life rights. They could stay in their homes until they died. But after that, the land would be seized. Their houses would be torn down, their names erased. Over time, the silence grew thicker. Entire blocks vanished. Driveways led to nowhere. The only signs of life were occasional tourists and the rising plumes of smoke still leaking from the hillsides. Even the cemetery began to tilt, tombstones sinking into the soft, poisoned earth. Centralia wasn't abandoned all at once. It bled out, one heartbeat at a time. And the people who stayed didn't survive the fire. They learned how to live with it. Today, Centralia looks like a town that never existed. Just fragments of roads leading nowhere, driveways without houses, and warning signs nailed to trees. Most of the buildings are gone, but the ground is still hot. Smoke still seeps from deep cracks in the hillsides. The fire hasn't stopped. It's just deeper now, quieter, older. The highway that once connected Centralia to neighboring towns, Route 61, has been permanently rerouted. What's left of it has been renamed Graffiti Highway, a surreal canvas of neon spray paint stretching across crumbling asphalt. But this wasn't just random vandalism. It started in the early 2000s, when word of Centralia spread across internet forums and urban explorer circles. Visitors began tagging the road with names, dates, messages, some funny, others dark. It became a ritual. People came to this dead place and left a mark, as if trying to speak to something still beneath the ground. Political slogans, memorials to lost relatives, cryptic symbols, even eerie warnings scrawled across a crack oozing steam. Over time, every inch of pavement was claimed by paint. It was no longer a road. It was a message board to the unknown. It's the only color left in a town that's otherwise gone gray. The story of Centralia reached far beyond Pennsylvania. In 1999, a Japanese video game designer read about the smoldering ghost town, and it became the inspiration for the haunting fog and empty streets of Silent Hill. The movie followed, cementing Centralia's legacy as a real-world nightmare rendered in fiction. But unlike the game, Centralia isn't trapped in another dimension. It's right here, still burning, still collapsing, still holding secrets beneath its ash. It's a town erased from the map, but not from the earth. Centralia may be a ghost town, but the fire beneath it still burns. As the world moves on, its secrets smolder in silence, waiting to be uncovered. If you've learned something new today, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this mystery with those who dare to explore the unknown. Until next time, keep questioning what's real.